All right, y'all. So your question one wants us to graph the equation by plotting points. So I'm gonna go work this by hand, and then I'm gonna come put this answer in for you. So the big thing on this one is really to solve it for the y. Once we got it solved for y, we can plot our points and then put this in MATLAB. So the equation was 4y plus 2x equals -2. Y'all saw that for the y. I'm going to move the 2x to the other side by subtracting 2x. When I'm doing that, I get my 4y. 2x cancels on the left side. These are not like terms. So that's just going to be -2 minus 2x. All right, then the trick was to come in and make that a 1y by dividing everybody by 4. And seeing what we end up with. So the 4's cancel here, making that a 1y. -2 does not divide by 4, but we need to reduce that. So if you divide 2's out of both of these, you'll get a -1/2. Minus, same thing here, 2/4 gives me a 1/2 x. So if I was going to make me a little table, I'm probably just going to use 0 and 1 for my x's. And if I put a 0 in for the x, 1/2 times 0 is 0. So that gives me -1/2 minus 0, which is a -1/2. Then I'm going to put a 1 in for the x. I put a 1 in for the x. 1/2 times 1 is 1/2. -1/2 minus 1/2 gives you a -2/2, which gives us a -1. But y'all, at this point, you could have plotted this part. You can put that in y1 and then pull up your table and get your values. So I got 0, -1/2. So we'll start at 0. And remember, -1/2 is coming down just a little bit. And then I had 1, -1. So if I go right to 1 and down to -1. So notice I now have 2 points. And I can connect my line. So let me show you what MATLAB is going to look like on that. And y'all, let me make this a little larger for us. So I'm going to click here to enlarge graph. Remember, these are straight lines. So that graph will be a straight line. And then you plot your 2 points, which was 0, -1/2. And y'all, that little banner showing me that I'm at -0.5, which is the same as -1/2. And then I'm going to go right 1 and down 1 for my second point. So it's the same line we just drew on the paper. So what you're going to do at that point is hit save and be done. All right, number 2, y equals x² plus 3. So I'm going to work that on paper and then we'll graph it. So y equals x² plus 3 on this graph. My 3 points I would use would be and let me do that again. -1, 0, and 1. Okay, so those would always be the points I would use on all these x² graphs. Because remember, the x² graphs are going to look like what we call a parabola, okay? So if you put a -1 in for that x, you're going to have y equals -1 squared plus 3. -1 squared is a +1 plus 3, which gives me 4. Now, these graphs are what we call symmetric. So whatever you get on the negative numbers, you're going to get on the positive numbers also. Now, if we put a 0 in, 0 squared is 0. 0 plus 3 gives me 3. And y'all, then if I put in the 1, 1 squared is 1. And then 1 plus 3 gives me 4. So notice, whatever you get on the negative numbers on these, you'll get on their opposites. Notice I got a 4 and a 4 for both -1 and 1, okay? All right, so we would come to -1, go up 4. 0, 3 would stay at 0 and go up 3. And then I had 1, 4, so I go right 1 and up 4. So at that point, Math Lab's going to come in and draw that U-shaped parabola for us. And y'all, I'm going to go graph that in Math Lab for us. So click to enlarge graph. Choose the 3-point quadratic tool. And then just plot your points. I had -1, 4. And if you notice in the top right of that little yellow banner, it shows the point as I put it. My next point was what? 0, 3. So starting at 0, I'm going to go up 3. And then my last point was a +1, 4. So y'all, you put your 3 points in, click save. All right, absolute value. This is y equals the absolute value of x plus 7. This is the main graph that's going to be picky for us, okay? So let's go to do this by hand. I'm going to move my camera down so I can see that graph now. All right, y equals absolute value x plus 7. This is a V-shaped graph, but it's got 2 points on it. So we only need 2 points, but y'all, the little V point is the first point we got to figure out. The first point we got to graph on here. And that first point will have a y value of 0. So all we got to do is figure out what number I can put in here to give me a 0 out of that. Well, the opposite of 7 would be a -7, because -7 plus 7 is 0. Absolute value 0 is 0. So our first x has to be a -7. And y'all, the second x can be anything you want. So I can pick any number I want. So I'm just going to pick one that's next to that. How about a -8? So if I put a -8 in here, I'll have -8 plus 7. Well, -8 plus 7 is going to give me a -1. The absolute value of a -1 is 1. So when x is -8, my y will be 1. All righty. So let's see what we got. So -7, 0 will be over here at -7 on the x-axis. So that first point has to be on the x-axis. And then I had -8, 1. So y'all, once you put that point, MathLab is automatically going to come in and draw you a V-shaped graph. And I'm going to go graph that on MathLab for us. So I'm going to enlarge my graph, choose the V-shaped absolute value tool. Come over here to -7, 0 first. So go over here to -7, 0. And then my second point was -8, 1. And notice on this one, once you put the second point, it draws the V shape for us. That's what we had on paper. So we're going to save that and go to the next one.
Can you put an absolute value on y equals on the calculator?
Yeah, so let me go to my calculator real quick and show you what you have to do on that. And so you would click y equals. To get the absolute value, you would hit the math button down here and arrow right till you got the number highlighted. Once you got that number highlighted, the first thing you see is ABS. That stands for absolute value. So I'm going to hit enter on that. And then here I would put my X plus 7. So now if you want to go, now the thing on this, if you do use the calculator to graph this, remember in MathLab, go to second graph to get your table. Remember in MathLab, you're going to have to scroll until you find me a y value equals 0. Because that y value equals 0 still has to be the first point you plot, okay? So notice that gives me -7, 0, which is what we had on paper. If I went up one more, that was that -8 I used. But you could have used -6, -5, any of those for your second point. And then when you go to graph, there's your V. So not too bad on that calculator. Just remember you have to hit math and then arrow over the number to get that absolute value. All right, y'all, this number 4 wants to know whether this is a function or not. My domain, -5, 5, and 6. My range is 3. All 3 of them X values are going toward the 3. So in order for that to be a function, all the X values only have one Y value that they could go to. And y'all, if you notice, there's only one range value. So each of these X's is only pointing to one Y value technically. So yes, this is a function. And then we would have to pick which one sort of said what I was saying. And I would go with C because each element of the domain corresponds to exactly one element in the range. So remember, you're focusing on the domain and making sure each one of those only has one choice. All right, y'all, so that was definitely a yes. All righty, so let me see. I'm gonna write this one down real quick. So they got f of x equals 5x squared minus 5x. We're finding f of 0, f of a -1, and f of 2. So we'll go figure them 3 values out and then come back and put them in. All righty, so first I'll start with f of 0. F of 0 wants me to take this function and put a 0 in for both of those x's. So I'm going to have 5 times 0 squared minus 5 times 0. We know 0 squared is 0. 0 times 5 is 0. Minus 5 times 0 is 0. And 0 minus 0 gives me a 0. All right, then we come into f of -1. This is probably where I get the most mistakes. So let's put in a -1 for both of our x's. So remember, any number that you square becomes positive. So when you're using the calculator, you want to put negative numbers in parentheses especially if they got exponents, okay? So you bring the 5 down. -1 squared is 1. So all I did was my exponent. And then I'm just going to bring the rest of this down. So exponent first. Now I'm going to multiply. So 5 times 1 is 5. -5 times -1 will be minus a -5, which makes that a +5. And then 5 plus 5 gives us 10. So f0 is 0. F of -1 is 10. So now we find f of a +2. That'll be 5 times 2 squared minus 5 times 2. So once again, I'm going to do the exponent. So bring down that 5. 2 squared is 2 times 2 is 4. I'm bringing everybody else down. So now I'll take care of my multiplying. 5 times 4 is 20. Minus 5 times 2 would be minus 10. And y'all, 20 minus 10 gives us 10. So you figure out your 3 values, and then we'll go plug those in. So we said f0 was 0. F of -1, we got a 10. And then coming down to f of 2, we got 10 also. So y'all, at that point, you're going to hit next. All right, so let me make this graph a little bigger for y'all and see what y'all think about this. Is that a graph of a function? For that graph to be a function, a vertical line up and down can only intersect that graph once. Well, y'all notice if you draw a vertical line, it's going to hit the top of that graph and the bottom of that graph. So since the vertical line can intersect that graph more than one time, you're going to put no, that is not a function. All right, y'all, question on that? All right, y'all, let me write this one down. I got g of x equals 4 divided by 6 minus 5x. So we're doing a domain problem, and we do have a fraction. So that means this domain will not be all real numbers. So we got to figure out what number we got to exclude from our domain. So let's go work that one real quick. So g of x equals 4 divided by 6 minus 5x. Remember, all we're concerned about is the denominator. The denominator cannot equal 0. So to find what values might make it equal 0, we're going to take that denominator, set it equal to 0, and see what we get. Any answer that I get, I'm going to kick it out of my domain, okay? So y'all, we got to solve this. So most of y'all like to move the number first. So we're just going to subtract 6 from both sides. Doing that, you get a -5x equals a -6. Then divide both sides by -5. All right, so what's going to happen? That cancels, giving me my x. The negatives cancel, making that a positive 6/5. So our domain will be x such that x is a real number and x cannot equal 6/5. Okay, so we just want one that sort of says what we got here. So we would go to the math lab. And oh, be careful because B and C both got 6/5. But ours ain't greater than or equal. Ours has to be the not equal. So you gotta pick C on that. Remember that greater than, less than stuff. We use those when we were graphing the inequalities, okay? Oh, y'all, let me write this one down. Oh, let's see what we got. F of x equals negative 18x plus 12. G of x equals x squared plus 20. They want me to find f of 0 divided by g of 0. All right, so we'll work that by hand, see what we get, then we'll put that answer in. All right, so f of 0 divided by g of 0 will equal my f, negative 18. Remember, since they're giving me a number, I got to put a number in for the x, which will be a 0, plus my 12. On bottom, g of x is x squared. Well, they're giving me a 0 for it, so it's going to be 0 squared plus 20. All right, so 0 times negative 18 is 0. 0 plus 12 gives me a 12. 0 squared is 0, plus 20 gives me a 20. So the trick on this one is getting this thing simplified. So 12 and 20 would both divide by 2, but there's a bigger number they both divide by. Both of these will actually
4.
So there you go. They actually divide by 4. So that'll give me what, a 3. And then 20 divided by 4 gives me a 5. Now, I'll show y'all a trick on this calculator. So we had so let me go to the calculator. I want to quit this screen. Now on the calculator, I can punch it in just like a fraction by hitting alpha y equals, and then enter for ND, which is numerator over denominator. Right here, you can put in your negative 18 times 0. Whoops, let me go back. All right, so that should be negative 18. I hit the negative twice, it looks like. All right, times 0. So I'm going to put in my 0 and then plus 12. All right, so on the bottom, I had 0 squared plus 20. So if you put it in looking like a fraction in Math Lab, when you hit an enter, there's our answer, 3/5. Now, say you did this by hand and you ended up with that 12 over 20. I'm going to show you a trick. 12 divided by 20. If you hit enter, you'll get a decimal. But we're going to turn the decimal back into a fraction by hitting math and enter twice. Go hit math and enter twice, and it'll turn any decimal into a reduced fraction. All right, y'all, so we got 3/5 on that. So we would go to Math Lab. Put in our 3/5. And notice Math Lab has a fraction down here on the bar. So hit the fraction bar and then put in your 3 and your 5. All right, y'all, let me write this one down. So f of x is negative 2x plus 3. G of x is a x squared minus 3. They want me to find G minus F of X. All right, so let's work this one. Now notice they didn't give me a number to put in for this one. So all we're going to be able to do is maybe combine like terms and fun stuff like that. So G minus F of X will equal my G minus my F. On subtraction, I always start these functions out in parentheses. So G was X squared minus 3. F was a negative 2X plus 3. And y'all, the biggest thing you got to do right on this problem is drop these parentheses and get your signs. So there's nothing in front of the first parentheses. So we can drop those parentheses and we'll have an X squared minus 3. But now we got parentheses that follow subtraction. So you got to distribute the subtraction to both parts. So when you subtract a negative, well, negative times negative will make that a positive 2X. And then you distribute the negative times that negative 3. Well, negative times a positive makes that a negative 3. So basically, you treat this negative or subtraction like it's a negative 1, and you're just multiplying everybody by the negative. Notice when you follow subtraction, if you're negative inside, you become positive. If you're positive inside, you become negative. Now, y'all, at that point, you're going to add like terms. So they usually want them in descending order. So the X squared would go first. The 2X would go next. And then a negative 3 and a negative 3 are your like terms. So negative 3 plus a negative 3 makes that a negative 6. And, you know, at that point, I have no more like terms, so I cannot go any further. So you would come into the math lab and we would put in our X squared. So hit the X and then the box down there to put in your 2. Arrow right, put in your 2X. Whoops, let me backspace. I forgot my positive. Plus 2X, there I go. And then minus or 6. All right, y'all, once y'all got that in there, hit next. All right, so let me write that down. F of X equals X squared minus 5. G of X equals 16 minus X. They want us to find F minus G of a 1. All right, so this time they did give us a number for it. So F minus G of a 1 will equal my F of 1 minus R G of 1. So what they want me to do is put a 1 in for these X's, see what we get, then subtract. So F will be 1 squared. So that'll be 1 squared minus 5. G will be 16 minus R1. All righty, so 1 squared is 1, so you get 1 minus 5 in the first parentheses. And then over here, 16 minus 1 gives me 15. All right, y'all letting one in real quick. All right, let's see. 1 minus 5 gives you -4. Minus or 15. And -4 minus 15 gives me a -19. But y'all watch this. We got calculators. So I'm going to quit this screen and then hit clear. So what I would do on that, first parentheses, I had 1 squared. So 1 squared minus 5. Close parentheses. Minus the second parentheses was 16 minus 1. Now, y'all, I will say this. Had I had a -1, that first one, when I put it in and squared it, I would have put it in its own set of parentheses if it was a -1, okay? So y'all watch this. Hit enter, and there's our -19. All right, so we would put in our -19 and go to the next. All right, y'all, I'm gonna write my problem down real quick. Let's see. F of x is 1 over x minus 1. G of x is equal to a 10x to the third. Find the domain of the sum, difference, and product. So here's one thing I'll tell you on this problem. They will all three be the same. So whatever answer you get on the sum will be the same as we get on the difference, which will be the same as we get on the product. So we just got to find a domain basically one time here. Okay, once we got our domain, it'll be the same for all three of those. So y'all, the sum would be f plus g of x. F is 1 over x minus 1 plus my g of x, which is 10x to the third. So my question is, are there any numbers I might want to kick out of my domain that would make this thing undefined? And y'all remember, the only thing I'm worried about in a domain at this section are fractions. And guess what? I have a fraction here. So we do have a fraction.
1.
And there you go. 1's the only number that x cannot equal, because 1 minus 1 makes that thing a 0. And I cannot divide 1 by 0. So at this point, we know our x cannot equal a 1. So our domain will be x such that x is a real number and x cannot equal a positive 1. And y'all remember, since that's what we got on adding, that's the same thing we'll get on our difference. The same thing we'll get on our product. So we're just going to go in here and write that thing 3 times. And see, they got everything here. All we got to do is come in and put x, come down and get that not equals 1. And then come down to the next one, put in an x not equal to 1. And then finally the third one, x cannot equal 1. Once you put that x not equal to 1 in all 3 of those, go to next. And y'all, you will get a fraction on number 11, so make sure what number makes that equal 0 to kick it out. Right, now this is the one where you had to worry about division. So let's see. F of x is a 3x minus 5. G of x is a 5x minus 45. They want to know the domain of f divided by g. All righty, so we'll figure out what number to exclude. Then we'll come back and put that in. All right, so f divided by g will equal my f equation on top, 3x minus 5, over my g equation, 5x minus 45. Now remember, since we're doing domain, all we're worried about again is that denominator. So take the 5x minus 45, set it equal to 0. All right, y'all, so we need to find what value of x makes this equal 0. So add 45 to both sides. I'll get 5x equals 45. Divide by 5. So it looks like x is equal to 9, which means in my domain, x cannot equal 9. So let's go get that in MathLab. And we would choose that A again and put x not equal to 9. All right, y'all, let me let one in real quick. All righty, so x cannot equal 9 on that. Then we hit next. Oh, let me see what I got. F of x equals 6x plus 7. G of x equals x to the third. They want me to find f compose g of -5. All right, now they're giving me numbers on this, so I should end up with a single number when I'm done. So remember, f compose g of -5 is like finding a f of a g of -5. I'm going to put the -5 into the g equation first. Once I get that answer, I'll put that into the f. So the first thing you're finding is g of -5. Well, that's going to be a -5 to the third power. All right, y'all, so let's figure out what that is. A -5 times a -5 times a -5. Ooh, that's going to be negative something. Well, let's see, 5 times 5 is what? 25. 25 times 5. So that's going to give me a -125. Since g of -5 gave me a -125, I now put the -125 into the f equation. So that'll give you 6 times -125 plus 7. All right, so remember, -5 into g, get that answer, throw it into the f. All right, y'all, so let's figure out what this is going to give me. So a negative times a positive will be a negative. So let's see, 125 times 2 is 250. Doing that 3 more times, so what's that, a -750? Plus 7, which will give me a -742. 3. All right, y'all. So let me see. The calculator, it likes to do this kind of stuff. So I'm gonna clear that. So I could do my -5 to the 3rd on here first. And then put my exponent 3. That's going to give me -125. And then I can come in and do 6 times -125. Close parentheses. Add 7. And that'll give me my -743. So either way on that. All right, y'all come in and put in your -743. All right, y'all, then you hit next. All righty, so this one says, use the horizontal line test to determine whether this function is 1-to-1. All right, y'all. If that function is 1-to-1, then the horizontal line cannot intersect that graph more than one time. So y'all, let me make that a little bigger for us. So the question.
No.
Say again.
No.
It is definitely a no, because if you run a horizontal line across it, it's going to hit the left side of that graph and the right side. So good job. That is definitely a no. So the vertical line tells me if it's a function. Horizontal line tells me if it's 1-to-1. All right, y'all. So let's write this. F of x equals 2 divided by x plus 6. All right, listen. Is a function 1-to-1? You're going to put yes no matter what. Everybody's number 15 will be 1-to-1. So you will have to find the inverse. So put yes on that one. And then we're going to come down here and find our inverse. All righty. So to find the inverse, we replace the f of x with the y. So we're going to get y equals 2 over x plus 6. So replace f of x with a y. Y'all, what did I do with the x and y next?
You switch them.
Okay, so I'm going to switch the x and the y. So that I get an x equals 2 divided by y plus 6. And y'all are probably going to have the same type of fraction. The only thing they'll do is change that 2 and 6 up probably. All righty. So technically, we're going to solve this for the y now. So y'all, what I'm going to do is to get rid of this fraction, I'm going to multiply both sides by y plus 6. And if you notice on the right side, the y plus 6 is canceled. So I get this y plus 6 times x equals 2. Now, this is one of the few times in math where I would not distribute that x and multiply this, because I'm solving this for the y. So what I would do to this, y'all, is just come in and divide both sides by that x. Because now the x is canceled. All that's left over here is the y plus 6. And we don't even need parentheses anymore. So bring down to y plus 6. That's going to equal to 2 over the x. So y'all, in the long run, all I did was I switched the x and the y plus 6 around, it looks like. But now to finish this out for solving for the y, since they're adding 6, we're going to come in and subtract 6 from both sides. So those 6's cancel, leaving my y. All right, so I got a 2 over x, negative 6, not like terms. So I'm just going to leave that at 2 over x minus my 6. And y'all, technically at that point, we would replace the y with the f inverse of x notation. And that's going to equal that 2 over x minus 6. So y'all's will be really, really similar to this, okay? So let's go put that in. That's a 2 over x minus 6. All right, so first thing I got to do is get that fraction. And we said that was 2 over x. And then arrowed out of the fraction and put in a minus 6. And y'all, they've already got that f negative 1 of x sitting there. So all we had to do is just put in the right side of that, okay? All right, and then we started getting into these systems of equations. So for 16, I got what? A 3x plus 2y equals 34. I got 2x plus 3y equals 36. All righty, y'all. So let's go work this one. Now, we'll say if you're doing these on calculators, I'll show you how to do this one on a calculator also. But first, I got to figure out what we want to eliminate, the x's or the y's. And y'all, whoo, they look about the same to me. I got a 3 and a 2 on the x's, a 2 and a 3 on the y's. So I don't think it really matters which ones we eliminate. So y'all, I think I'm going to eliminate the x's there first. But y'all notice, to eliminate a variable, I got to find a number that 2 and 3 both go into, and I got to make one of those negative. So what's the smallest number 2 and 3 go into?
6.
So I think I heard a 6 on there, right?
Yes.
All right, so I'm going to make one of these rows a positive 6. I'll make the first row a positive 6 by multiplying all of them by a 2. The second row, I'm going to make a negative 6 by multiplying all of them by a negative 3. All right, y'all, here we go. 2 times 3 is 6x. Plus 2 times 2 gives you 4y equals 34 times 2 is 68. Now do that with the negative 3 on the next row. Negative 3 times 2 is negative 6x. Negative 3 times 3 is a negative 9y. And then negative 3 times 36 is a negative 108. But y'all, what we needed to happen, negative 6 and 6x cancel. 4y minus 9y give me negative 5y. 68 and a negative 108 gives me what? A negative 40. All right, now I can solve for the y by dividing both sides by that negative 5. So that cancels, giving me a y The two negatives cancel. 40 divided by 5 gives me an 8. So I know what the y equals now. So I'm just going to plug in an 8 for that y and see what I get. So we're going to back substitute. So 3x plus 2y, which will be 2 times 8, has to equal 34. All right, y'all, let's see what that gives me. 3x, 2 times 8 is 16. That's going to equal 34. Subtract 16 from both sides. So y'all, that's going to give me my 3x. 16's cancel. 34 minus 16 is, what is that? 18. And y'all now divide by 3 to get the x. So x equals 6. Now remember, these answers gotta look like an ordered pair, and you gotta put the x first and then the y. So you would come in and put your 6, comma y, which is 8. So y'all, that's your trick. Pick which one you want to eliminate, get it eliminated, and solve for that final variable. Once you got that variable solved for, back substitute it into one of those equations and see what the other variable equals. All right, y'all, so we would go put that in Math Lab now. Now remember, it's got to be an ordered pair, so get the one down here that's got the parentheses. Put in our 6 first, arrow over. Whoops. Let me click on the blue. Arrow over and put in your 8. All right, so I got 6, 8 in ordered pairs. So then I hit next. Oh, we got the big one here. So let me write that over. Oh, let me show you that last one on the calculator. Y'all, I'm gonna show y'all how you can do this one on the calculator. So let me share that screen. I'm gonna clear that off. So remember, on the calculator, I'm gonna use a matrix. So I would hit second x negative 1 to get the matrix. I'm going to go over to edit and hit enter. Now remember, this has 2 variables. So this is a 2 rows enter by 3 columns. So remember, it's always rows times columns. So my first row, I had a 3 for the x, enter. 2 for the y, enter. 34 for the answer, enter. Then I go to the next row. I had a 2 for the x, enter. 3 for the y, enter. 36 for the answer, enter. So once you got all the numbers in, you're going to hit second mode to quit. Now we want the calculator to do the math for us. So we hit second x negative 1. We arrow right to math. So y'all arrow all the way down until you find REF. Hit enter. Now you got to go back for the 3rd time into the second x negative 1 so we can grab that matrix. And I'll always leave mine at A. So once I do this, I just hit enter. So we're going to reduce that matrix A by hitting enter. And y'all look, the 1 in the first column is where the x's go. And if you look all the way right, you get a 6. On the second row, the 1's in the second column, which is for the y's. So that means that the 1y equals 8. So these matrices will give you the same answer as working these by hand. All right, y'all. So, well, I think I had a 3 one coming up next. Didn't we show? All righty. So you got a 6x minus a y plus a z equals 13. 4x plus a 2y minus 3z equals 2. X minus 3y plus 2z equals 1. All right, so I can do these by hand. I can do these by the calculator. So the first question, any of y'all doing these by hand?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so good job. So let's go to do these by hand. So let me get to the calculator. I mean, to my pad here. So I'm going to make this row 1, row 2, and row 3. So I've got to pick a variable to eliminate. And y'all, if I was looking through here, I mean, the easiest ones would probably be the Y's or the Z's. And really, either one of those don't look too bad. So I think I'm going to eliminate the Y. Because I got that single Y, I can cancel with this one. And then that Y I can use to cancel with the third row. Because remember, you got to use all 3 rows by adding these things 2 different times, okay? So let's see. First, I got a negative Y here and a 2y here. I'm going to multiply the first row by 2 because that'll give me a negative 2y. That'll cancel with that positive 2y. So what I'm going to do is multiply row 1 by 2 and then add to row 2. Okay, so I'm going to multiply this row by 2, then add that row to my second row. So my new row 1, if I multiply everybody by 2, that's going to give me 12x minus 2y plus 2 times 1z gives me 2z equals 2 times 13 is 26. So whatever row you change, make sure you change everything on that row. All right, I didn't have to change row 2. It's already got a positive 2y. So that is 4x plus 2y minus 3z equals 2. Now, when I add these 2 together, I'm going to call that equation 4. All right, y'all, 12 and 4 give you 16x. Your y's canceled. 2 minus 3 gives you a negative 1z. And then 26 and 2 give us 28. So that's equation 4, and I'll use it in a second after I find my equation 5. Once I get equation 5, 4 and 5 will make one of those 2 by 3 equations. So remember, I used row 2, so this time, no matter what, we got to use row 3. So y'all, I got a negative 3 on row 3. I'm going to make row 1 into a positive 3y. So to make that negative y a positive 3y, I'm going to multiply by negative 3. So I'm going to multiply row 1 by negative 3 and then add to row 3. Because remember, row 3 don't have to change, it's my row 1. So multiplying by negative 3, 6 times negative 3. So this will be my row 1 again, will be a negative 18x. Negative 3 times negative 1 makes that a positive 3y. Negative 3 times 1 makes that a negative 3z. And then negative 3 times 13 is a negative 39. Now notice, I didn't have to change row 3. That is an x minus 3y plus 2z equals 1. Y'all, when we add them together, we'll call that equation 5. Ooh, let's see what we got. Negative 18 and 1 give you negative 17x. The y's canceled. Negative 3 and 2 give you a negative z. All that's going to equal negative 39 and 1, which is a negative 38. All righty. Here we go. Equation 4 and equation 5. Equation 4, 16x minus z equals 28. Equation 5, negative 17x minus z equals negative 38. So y'all, one of these letters definitely looks easier to eliminate than the other for me. I don't want to try to find a number 16 and 17 to both go into, but I got negative z and a negative z. I'm going to eliminate the z. And to eliminate this z, I'm just going to multiply row 5 by negative 1. So I'm going to multiply row 5 by negative 1 and add to my row 4. So y'all, here I go. I'm going to put row 4 first. It didn't change, so it's going to stay 16x minus z equals 28. Row 5 is changed, and I'm multiplying by negative. All that negative is doing is going to make all 3 of these negative numbers into a positive number. So you get a 17x plus a z equals 38. All right, y'all, let's see what that did. 16 and 17 give me 33x. The z's canceled. So let's see what we get over here. 28 and 38. So that'd be what, 6? Ooh, that's going to be what, a 66. Yo, I'm now down to one variable. Since I'm down to one variable, I'm now going to solve that for the x by dividing both sides by 33. That cancels. X equals 66 divided by 33. So I now know my x is a positive 2. And y'all, here's the trick. You got to substitute this into one of these 2 equations that's got 2 variables. Once we figure out what the z is, I'll know the x and the z. Then I'll plug it into one of my original 3. So let me start back substituting. So y'all, I'm just going to take that first one. It's got more positives. So 16 times 2 minus a z has to equal 28. All right, let's see. 16 and 2 give me 32 minus z equals 28. I'm going to subtract 32 from both sides. That cancels. I get a negative z equals a negative 4. And y'all remember my last step, make that z positive by dividing both sides by negative 1. So that'll give me z equals a positive 4. So x is 2, z is 4. So I'm going to plug it into one of my original 3 equations. So I'm going to back substitute again. And I'm probably going to use the first one I had. I had 6x. Well, that'd be 6 times 2 minus my y plus my z, which is 4. All of that has to equal 13. And let me go back up here and show you. I was just going back into my first equation, but you could have picked any 3 of these, okay? All righty. So here I'm going to do 6 times 2 is 12 minus y plus 4 equals 13. I'm going to add my like terms. So 12 and a 4 give you 16 minus y equals 13. All right, y'all. So now I need to get my y by itself. So I'm going to subtract 16. 16's cancel. I get negative y equals a negative 3. And then remember, divide both ends by negative 1 so that we get a positive y equals a positive 3. So remember, these answers have to be ordered triples. You put the x, then the y, then the z. X, I got a 2. Y that I just solved for gave me 3. And then my z over here gave me a 4. So if I was to plug all them back into that equation, that will give me a true statement. So y'all, the 3x4s ain't no joke. But pick you a variable to eliminate. And remember, you got to do that twice so that you get one of these 2x3 equations. Then pick the next variable to eliminate and then solve for the last. Then you back substitute into the 2 variable equations, get that answer, and then back substitute into the 3 variable equations. So y'all, some of y'all like doing that on the calculator. So let me show you what my calculator can do with that. All right, so I'm gonna clear that screen. So I'm gonna hit second x negative 1 to get my matrix. I'm gonna go over to edit and hit enter. So these are 3 rows. So I'll do 3 enter by 4 columns and enter. All right, so then just start putting your numbers only. 6x is 6 enter. Negative y is a negative 1 enter. 1z would be a 1 enter equals 13 enter. My second equation was 4 x's, so 4 enter. 2y would be 2 enter. Negative 3z would be negative 3 enter. And then that answer was 2 and enter. Third row, I had a 1x, so 1 enter. Negative 3y would be negative 3 enter. 2z would be 2 enter. And then 1 enter. So I got my equation in. I'm going to quit the screen by hitting second mode. Now I'm going to make it do some math. So I'm going to hit second x negative 1, arrow over to math, and then go down until I hit RREF. Once I got RREF, I'm going to hit enter. And then I'm going to go back and get my matrix by hitting second x negative 1 and enter. All right, y'all. So remember, the last column on the right will be my answers in order of the x, y, and z. So when I hit enter, there we go, 2, 3, and 4. So put them in parentheses and be done. So y'all, we need to go put this in Math Lab. So let's go. Now notice, they've already got the parentheses. All they want us to do is put in a 2, arrow over to the next one and put in a 3, and then go to the last box and put in our 4. So just remember on 17, they're already going to have the parentheses. They just want those 3 numbers. But on 16, remember, let me go back to 16. But you're on 16, you have to physically add those parentheses, okay? There you go. So let's see. Let's see which one is next. Oh, y'all, so let me write this equation down. I got 2x minus 3y is less than or equal to a negative 9. All right, so I'll go work that, and then we'll come plot that on MATLAB. All righty. So once again, whether you do this on calculator or by hand, you need to solve this for the y. Once you got it solved for the y, then you can pick 2 points and graph it and be done. So to solve this for the y, I'm going to move the 2x to the other side by subtracting 2x. So those cancel. I get negative 3y less than or equal. Remember, once again, these are not like terms. So I got negative 9 minus 2x. All right. The y has to be positive now, and it needs to be a positive 1. So I'm going to divide everybody by negative 3. And y'all, since I divided by a negative, I got to reverse the inequality so that it is a greater than and equals. So reverse the inequality. Since we divided by a negative. Now, if that had been a positive 3y and I divided by positive 3, I would have left that the same. But I do got to reverse it because I divided by a negative. So y'all, those negative 3's cancel. I get y is greater than or equal. Negative 9 divided by negative 3 is a positive 3. These 2 negatives are going to make that a positive 2 over 3x. So remember, MATLAB, I need 2 points. So on this one, I'm going to use a 0. And since I got a fraction with a 3 in the denominator, my second number will be a 3. So y'all, the 0 ain't bad. 2/3 times 0 is 0. 0 plus 3 gives me 3. Now let's see why I picked 3. If I put a 3 in for that x, reason I picked 3 is because you can now cancel the 3's, making that a 1. So that just basically gives me 2 times 1, which is 2. 2 plus 3 gives me a 5. So when my x is 3, my y will be 5. So let's sort of draw what we think we're going to get. So let me just go out 5 on this. So 0, 3 will be 0 up 3. 3, 5 will be right 3 up 5. All right, y'all, I got 2 questions. First one, do I want a dotted line or a solid line?
Solid.
Definitely. Anytime you got that equals under there, you want a solid line. Now, do I want to shade this above or below?
Above.
Above, because remember, you got to go back to the one where you had it solved for the y, and that's greater than. So greater than is going to shade above that line. So remember, when you click this on MathLab, the first thing you do by default, notice over here, there's a paint can, and then you got a solid line. Under it is a dash line. So we wanted the solid line, which is already there. So we would click up here to line tool. Come over here and plot 0, 3. So let's go 0 up 3. Click. My second point was 3, 5. So I'm gonna go right to 3, up to 5. And then y'all said shade above. So what you do is you click this paint can, come over here above the line anywhere and click enter. All right, so notice it painted the top of our line, solid line like we needed. So we're going to save that. And then we go to the next question. Now, do y'all want me to show you that real quick on the calculator?
Yes.
You go to y equals, and let me clear out that. So on y equals, you would put in your 3 plus your 2 divided by 3 and your x. And now that you got this, if you hit second graph, there's your table. So let me come back down here to some positive numbers. So there's 0. I got 0, 3, and then remember I had 3, 5. So let me go back to the y equals. Now to shade it, remember I went all the way left and I hit enter till I had the triangle that was on top. Once you got that triangle clicked, you're going to click graph and it's going to draw the line. Now let me do this on the CE so they remember how to do theirs. All right, so on the CE, let me go up here and put in my, what was it? 3 plus 2 divided by 3x. All right, arrow all the way left, hit the left side of that Y1, you're going to hit enter. Now remember on the CEs, you can pick what color you want. You can do light blue, yellow, any of them colors. Click down on line and arrow right till you get that triangle above. Come down and hit OK. Now, when y'all graph, it's going to shade the color that should be shaded, whatever color your line is. All right, y'all. So we shaded that. We hit next for the next question. All right, y'all, x greater than 7. This one, you really don't need to do no work other than pick what kind of line I need to draw. Do I want my line to be solid or dash?
Dash.
Dash, because there's no equals. So before you graph this, you got to click on that dash line and then come up and grab your line tool. So remember, x greater than 7. X equal to a number is going to be a vertical line. So everybody's number 19 will be a vertical line. And you ought to draw a vertical line, you go to the x-axis at 7, since that's the number they're giving me. Pick it at 7, and then go up or down, it don't matter, and make me another point. Okay, so if that was x equals 3, I'd go to the 3 and then go up or down to make my second point. Now it's greater than, so on the x-axis, greater than is to the right. So grab that paint can and click on the right side. If that was less than, we'd have went to the left side and clicked, okay? All right, y'all, so then you would save that and you're good to go. And y'all, that one always uses X's for vertical lines. I never seen it do a Y on that one. It's always going to be X's. So your number 19 better be a vertical line, okay? Now you might have an equals under it, or it might be like mine without the equals. That's what you're going to have to pay attention to, okay? All right, y'all, then you got next. So these were the double shaded ones. So let's see, we got y greater than or equal to x plus 6. Then we got y less than or equal to 4 minus x. So we just got to pick A, B, C, or D on this one. So let's go work this one, see what we get. Once we get what we need, we can go pick a graph. I'm probably going to go out 10 on this and because they got that 6 there. All right, and then I'll show you on the calculator. Well, on the calculator, you're looking for the double shaded areas. So let's see, on this one, I'm going to pick an x and a y for the first equation, and then an x and y for the second one. So I'm just going to use 0 and 1 on both of those, because those are easy numbers. 0 in the first one, 0 plus 6 gives me a 6. If I put a 1 in, 1 plus 6 is 7. So let me graph that line and then we'll come get this one. So my first line, 0, 6 will be 0 up 6. Then I had a 1, 7. So right 1 up 7. Greater than or equals, this will be a solid line. It's greater than, so you're going to shade this one above the line. All right, y'all, let's see what happens to the next one. If I put a 0 in, 4 minus 0 is 4. If I put a 1 in, 4 minus 1 is 3. So my second line has a point at 0, 4. And then right 1 up 3. That's also a solid line. Which on this one, you actually don't have to pick the lines. They just got the 4 pictures for you. This one's less than, so it would shade below that line. So I would go this way to shade the one below. If you notice, the double shaded area is this section right here. Since that's my double shaded area, that's the one I would pick. But before we pick one, let's do these on the calculator. I'm gonna go back to my 84 plus. Now remember, if y'all are on the CEs, you can make both lines different colors. And then you're looking for the double shaded area. So on this one, I'm gonna do x plus 6 first. Then I'm gonna arrow all the way left and hit enter till I got the triangle above. Then I'm going to come down to y2, put this equation in, which was 4 minus x. That was less than, so I'm going to arrow left. and hit enter till I got the triangle below. All right, y'all, so got my 2 shades, hit enter. And it's shading the same region we shaded by hand. And if you notice, we're looking for the overlap section, which is on the left side again. So all we got to do on this is go to Math Lab. Let's see, looks like D. D is the one where it's shaded on the left like ours. So we would put D and be done. So 20 questions. Once you did all 20, y'all are just going to come down here and submit your quiz. Hit that submit button, and it'll say, are you sure you want to submit it? And you say, submit quiz and be done, okay? All right, y'all, so. Any questions on that?
So do we only get one shot at the review test?
Oh, no, that review test has unlimited attempts on it.
Okay.
Let me make sure. Let me go back to my Math Lab. Let me pull that up real quick. Oh no, you can do that infinitely many times. The review, you can do as many as you want. The only thing you get one shot at is the actual test. Now, they are identical, other than the numbers are going to change on you, okay? But if one of them has an x+2, then the test will probably have an x+3 or something like that. It'll be the same order of questions, same type of questions. So, y'all, if you want an A on that test, I would do my review till I at least got a 90 on it, okay? Because you'll do better on the test than you do the review. If you want a B, then work the review till you get a certain grade, okay? I would not take my test if I was making anything below 70 on that review.
So can we take the test whenever we want this week, or is it on a certain day that we take it?
Oh no, your test is now open and your test is due by Sunday, June 11th at midnight. Now, we're going to start working test 2 material tomorrow. So I just wanted y'all to be able to review today. And if you want to stay on course, the quicker you do test 1, the better. But it'll be open all the way through Sunday for you, okay? All right, so let me quit this recording and then I'll start looking at